Making that in your sleep, one of the ways you can artificially make that is by eating high-fat, starchy foods. And so that's what I did, and I gained a lot of weight very fast.
Thanksgiving foods.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I noticed that sort of the bigger I got, the more... it seemed like the more invisible I became. Like, people didn't want to talk to me. People didn't want to interact with me as much. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? And so I started doing research on it and started looking at weight stigma and and its effects and how we develop it and why we develop it. And that's one of the reasons why I got into family communication, because I found that a lot of this weight stigma develops in the family, that it's ingrained since we are very, very little, messages about our bodies and what is good and what is bad, etc. And so right now, I look at stigma in a variety of ways. I look at it primarily right now with family communication patterns. I also look at it in dating. So, for example, let's say you've lost a bunch of weight.
Right.
And you go out on a date with someone. When do you tell them you've lost a bunch of weight? How do you tell them? Does it matter how you lost the weight? A shot versus exercise versus surgery, etc. Does that change their opinion of you and your willingness to date those people? I also look at it in terms of social media posts. So, you know how they have the hashtag Fitspiration, and they often hashtag Fitspiration is when they often post a picture of someone who's just completed a workout, and they tag it as Fitspiration, meaning fitness and inspiration coming together.
Right.
And it's usually someone who is typically looks fit, right? Well, what happens if someone who is not typically fit posts Fitspiration? And does that affect how people see it and how what people would do with that information? So would it inspire you, or is it going to provide you with more negative comments? So those are some of the things I look at.
And how much of it, let's say you are a person who is diligently trying to work, go to the gym or whatever, but you feel like, everybody's looking at me or things like that. How do you, what advice do you have for people to to get that out of their head and go ahead and work, keep the focus on what your goals are?
I would say that 98% of people are thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
What do I look like?
They're not. Get over yourself.
Right.
They're not looking at you.
Well, it's very much and I've talked to people who.
But there's a self-consciousness.
There is. I mean, I've talked to people who are, typical gym rats, and they have said multiple times, I would never think anything bad about someone who is actively trying to improve their health for anything. But, for the people who are that way, find the times that you're comfortable to go. So if that's super early in the morning when most people aren't there, maybe that's a way to start and get into it until you get used to the machines, used to what you're doing. And then maybe that confidence can grow as you start to find your way around the gym. Because I think a lot of people are intimidated. They think people are looking at me because they don't know what they're doing or how to do it. And so, asking for help, asking for the people who own the gym or work at the gym, how does this machine work? What do I do? Those things can be really helpful at lessening that anxiety in terms of actually going to the gym.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. This is not exactly that, but, I've been there, done that. But what was it? Monday night, I was involved in a bowling event, and this was a fundraiser, quote unquote, celebrity bowling event, and I was put with a group of people who I didn't know, but so I was in with them. Turns out they all are in a league together, and they bowl every week.
Right.
I bowl once a year at this event, and so there was there's a self-consciousness of that even of but the thing was with those people, and I think this is probably more so the case than not. I said, I don't want to drag you guys down or whatever, and they said, They said, and literally they all bowled over 200 in this game that we were in, and here I am at about 100, and I'm proud of that. But they were very encouraging to me, which they said, hey, this is great. Said we love bowling, and we love to be out here and encourage somebody who's not a regular bowler. So I think if you are someone who is a fit gym person,
yes.
and you see that the person with a weight issue that's coming in and trying to address it, be helpful to them.
Yeah, be encouraging. Hey, do you need some help with this? Do you need a spotter? Like those things go very far.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that going on, and so that is what can an individual do to help clear that stigma and self-consciousness out of their own mind?
Oh, they're going to have to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's probably going to have to do a lot of, you'll probably need some therapy for that. But also, saying the encouraging messages, finding a gym buddy, or, finding people around you who encourage you and don't break you down. A lot of people stay in relationships, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships or what have you, because someone's there. And if that person is bringing you down, that's not who you need to be around. And you don't need to be around the people who make you feel bad about yourself. That's going to reinforce the stigma. Find people who build you up. And that's going to go far with helping you reduce that self-consciousness.
Yeah. So there's good advice there as well. One of the things, again, noticing off of your I pulled this off of your email signature.
Oh, okay.
How about that? Certified mental health first aid trainer and instructor, and there's probably, and this kind of ties in with stigmatisms and self-consciousness. There's never been a bigger emphasis and awareness of people who are struggling with their mental health than right now. And and here I'm a bit of an older head and grew up to where you didn't talk about that was you've got to be strong, you've got to do this, you don't talk about things that you're struggling with, and again, here's the perfect time of year to where people have those kind of things creep up in their minds.
Yes. So we have the seasonal affective disorder. So, when it gets colder and the sun's not out for a long time, people often get seasonal depression. But, mental health is important for everyone. I will never forget someone, I said, I think this person is depressed. And they said, well, they're not crazy. They're just depressed. And I was like, right. You're not crazy. Like, let's try to eliminate that from our vocabulary. But, mental health is something that is incredibly important. And we see a lot more issues, especially with students today. But I think it may not be students are more, having mental health challenges right now. It's just that they have the language to talk about it that perhaps the previous generations did not have because it wasn't acceptable. And so they're able to get the help they need. There is never anything wrong with asking for help. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to see a shrink. I don't want to get on medication. Well, you don't have to do either of those. If you talk to your primary care doctor and say, here's how I've been feeling lately, they can help you. Sometimes therapy is all you need. You don't need to get on medication. And that's a lot of the things that keep people from seeking treatment is because they think they're going to have to see a special doctor, get on medication. And that's just simply not true. Also, you can do self-care things to help you. So exercising builds that endorphins, and also
I was going to say, good tips this time of year. Schedule yourself.
Yes.
You talked about exercising, get out, walk, do that kind of thing. Well, it's when it is dark and cold and windy like it is today, it's easy to stay inside and not do that.
Right. So, find something you can do inside. There are all kinds of workouts on YouTube, and a lot of them are just walking around. They're low impact and, or just do your chores, but just kind of at a faster pace. The stress hormone cortisol, the thing that kind of makes us feel crazy and feel amped up, it actually can only be released through the body through water. And the primary ways are sweat and tears, which is one of the reasons why you feel better after a good workout. Because,
or a good cry.
Yes, or a good cry.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to do those things. Also, if you have any hobby,